to today's session. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce Dr. Ashley Johnson, who will be sharing her perspective, the third during our conference, on the question, is college for everyone? Ashley is the founding executive director of the Detroit College Access Network. Prior to founding DCAN, she supported students, teachers, and advisors in a number of secondary and post-secondary education roles. She's also a first-generation college student who earned her PhD from Michigan State University in K-12 education administration with a specialization in urban education. As our nation struggles with racial inequality, the impact of COVID-19 and the resulting budget crises, as well as increasing questioning of the value, the underlying value of higher education, the question, is college for everyone, has perhaps never been more top of mind. In fact, I think it's a safe bet to assume that nearly everyone on today's call has been asked this question multiple times. So Ashley, is college for everyone?
Thank you, Amy, so much for the introduction. And absolutely, college is for everyone, right? I truly believe that. So as she stated, my name is Ashley Johnson, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the executive director of the Detroit College Access Network. I'm delighted to be here with you guys today virtually. Unfortunately, we're not in New Orleans, walking around with a drink in our hands on Bourbon Street. And by drink, I mean coffee, of course, right? And taking in face-to-face sessions, but we are safe. And if 2020 hasn't taught us one thing, it has taught us the importance of family, safety, and health. Thank you so much, NCAN, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you guys about, is college for everyone? So when NCAN first approached me with this question, is college for everyone? My initial thought was absolutely, right? And if you're on this call with me today, then I know you believe the exact same thing. Absolutely, college is for everyone. But we know that a lot of people in our country don't agree upon, one, what is college? And two, unfortunately, historically, everyone has not actually ever met everyone. So I want to spend some time with you guys today talking about college and spend a little bit of time talking about everyone. So let's start with a common definition of college. So Detroit College Access Network is part of the Michigan College Access Network. And in Michigan, we define college as a valuable post-secondary credential, including professional and technical certificates, 2- and 4-year academic degrees. We do this on purpose. Every conversation that we have with any of our partners or with anyone, we start with the common definition of college. Essentially, what we want our students and what we want our partners to know is that in order to make it into the middle class and to live above the poverty line, in this economy, everybody needs some type of a credential or degree beyond a high school diploma. And so normally when we define college in this way, it gets everybody on the same page and they start to say, yeah, I think that's a good option for everyone. So throughout this presentation, you're hearing me use the word college, but most of the time I'm probably speaking about post-secondary. So college has lots of benefits, right? We all know this. And we all typically talk about the financial benefits of college. We know that those with a college degree earn $1 million more than those with just a high school diploma. But college has a whole host of non-financial benefits that I want to make sure that we're all clear about and that we're always sharing with our partners. So number one is college. People who have a college degree are more likely to vote. And we all know this is an election season, right? And voting is a really big deal in this country. And so those with a college degree are more likely to participate in a democratic process to change the laws and policies that affect their everyday lives. We also know that those with a college degree live longer. They're more likely to be healthy. They're more likely to exercise. In fact, when I was looking this up, a person with a college degree on average lives 13 years longer than someone with just a high school diploma. Wow, 13 extra years of life. What could you do with 13 extra years of life? And we also know that they are less likely to be unemployed, less likely to be in poverty, less likely to be incarcerated or have any intersections with the criminal justice system. And not only do the individuals benefit from college, as we all know, but their children benefit too. Their children are more likely to go to better schools, they're more likely to get a degree, and they're more likely to have higher income levels as well. So college is not only an individual benefit, but it produces a generational benefit as well. So now let's transition to the word everyone, right? So we know in the founding documents of this country, one of the lines goes something like this: we find these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. However, we know that the folks who wrote that document were intentionally excluding populations of people from the get-go. They were excluding the slaves because they were slave owners. They were excluding women, and they were excluding those who did not own land. And honestly, they were taking land from people who were already here, and they were intentionally excluding them as well. So from its inception, there have been groups who have been intentionally left out of all and everyone. Consequently, there have been many groups in our history who have fought to be included in all and everyone. And if you're in this college access fight with me, then you're in that group. You're fighting for our students to be included in all and everyone. And if you did not know before 2020 has really brought this to light in a lot of different ways. But systemic structural racism is one of the most profound ways that people have historically and are currently been excluded in America. I'm sure some of you guys heard Travian Shirter's talk yesterday, and he really helped us understand that no matter how hard we try, it's subconsciously embedded in us, right? And if we don't really expand and become more familiar with expanded positive narratives, then we will perpetuate those things, whether we want to or not. So we have seen systemic structural racism, as you know, play out in all aspects of life. And I'm telling you, and you probably already know this, college is no exception to that. So let's just kind of look at who's going to college and completing college. And I know the slides that I'm going to show you're all too familiar with, because our work isn't aligned with this, right? Our work is trying to change and close these achievement gaps. But we know that African American students and Hispanic students are not going to college at the exact same rates as their white peers. And we also know that students from low income and middle income backgrounds are not going to college at the same rates as their high income peers as well. And we know that college completion rates are not that much different. And most of the data that we know that's showing us this is recent data. So what could the data have looked like 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? It wasn't necessarily much, it's gotten a lot better over time, but it was worse 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So what happens if people like you have been historically left out and not included in everyone? Oftentimes you get something that's opposite of all those amazing benefits that I spoke about with college. You frequently get something called generational poverty. So I think we all are a little bit familiar with generational poverty. So let me tell you a story that illustrates generational poverty. So this story is going to be about a family in rural Tennessee. Every year this family hosts the summer feed program, and they make sure that thousands of students and families in this community have food when schools are closed in the summer. Also, at the end of every summer, they have a back to school bash where they give out over 1,000 backpacks to all the kids in that community. On the top left-hand corner, you see Saul Johnson, and this is Saul Johnson Sr. And in the bottom photo, you'll see Saul Johnson Jr. Both of them grew up in northern Florida, and Saul Johnson Sr. dreamed of being a wealthy farmer, and he was a hard-working man. But because he was a Black man in the South in the 1940s, he was deprived of an education. In fact, he never attended school at all. Instead, he became a sharecropper. And if you're not familiar with what a sharecropper is, I encourage you to look that up. But Saul Sr. made sure that his son, Saul Jr., had access to an education. Saul Jr. went to school in northern Florida, and when he came of age, he decided to go north like many other Blacks did during the Great Migration. He went north and moved to New York, and he did what was familiar to him, and he became a migrant farmer picking apples. Eventually, Saul Jr. decided that he fell in love with horses and he became a horse trainer. And his horse training took him all across the country. And he eventually landed in a small town in rural Tennessee. There he met his wife. They got married. They had 3 sons. And eventually Saul Jr. got a pretty good job at the local Samsonite factory. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with Samsonite, the luggage company, right? After working at Samsonite for 15 years and being told over and over he's an amazing worker, he recognized that other people around him were getting promoted, but he didn't have access to that same opportunity. So he began to figure out, why am I not getting access to the same opportunity? And he soon discovered that it was because he never had a high school diploma. Although he did go to school, he never actually got a high school diploma. So he set out to not only get a high school diploma, but to also teach himself how to read, because although he had an 11th grade education, he did not know how to read. So here he is in his late 40s, early 50s, teaching himself how to read. He's sitting down at the kitchen table every single night with his 4th grade granddaughter, who is helping him sound out words and helping him understand how to read. This story is all too familiar with me. And the reason it's familiar with me is because I was that 4th grade granddaughter. And I am a product of generational poverty. My grandfather, as I just told you, had lots of resilience and grit, right? He taught himself how to read in his mid-50s. But in the case of generational poverty, it left multiple generations in my family without a high school diploma. Several family members had teenage pregnancies. In fact, my mom had me when she was in the 9th grade. Chronic health issues. Unfortunately, I've been to a lot of funerals in my lifetime. And many of my family members have had repeated contact with the criminal justice system. And this is all because everyone never actually meant everyone. Luckily for my family, we have overcome generational poverty, because that 4th grade girl is me, and I went on to get a college degree and went on to eventually get a PhD. So for me, this is not something that's just a job. It's personal and highly connected with my life story. As Nate Easley said earlier, 90% of students who grow up in poverty, if they have access and the opportunity to a college degree, they will not remain in poverty. And I'm happy to say that I'm part of that 90%. So we are the ambassadors for colleges, everyone. And so I'm going to encourage you to make sure that you are being very intentional about including all your students and everyone. So whenever I was asked, is college for everyone? Absolutely, college is for everyone. If we want widespread voting, then college is for everyone. If we want improved health outcomes for all and longer lives, 13 extra years for all, then college is for everyone. If we want to eliminate poverty, then absolutely college is for everyone. It is our responsibility to ensure that we are being inclusive of all of our students. Knowing that the country that the students are being raised in and grown up in, everyone has not always been everyone, and college has not always been for everyone. It's our job to be intentional when we're in our meetings, reviewing data, to make sure that every one of our students are included in this, and that they have opportunities for the opportunity to truly enroll and complete college. So many students that we serve, as we've heard throughout this entire conference, come from backgrounds that are similar to mine and have historically been left out of everyone and been left out of college. And I'm calling for that to end with us. I know that access to college and a college degree can help our students, can free our students from the bondage of generational poverty in the exact same way that it freed me. So we must be relentless in pursuing this. So when you get tired and you're trying to chase those students down to do their FAFSA or fill out those scholarships, don't give up. Keep pushing. Be relentless in making sure that our students are included in everyone and that our students are included in all. Thank you so much.